The island's food sector has developed in recent years as consumers' attitudes to food have changed and producers look to other forms of income. Peter Kendall, president of the National Farmers Union, explained how it's changing.
I think even on the island here, the same as the rest of the mainland, massive consolidation. Only 18 dairy farms on the whole of the Isle of Wight, a massive reduction over the last 10, 20 years, same as happening on the mainland. A lot of people going into diversified businesses as well. This has been a really grueling time for farming. What I'm pleased about now is there seems to be light at the end of the tunnel and more optimism.
God's Hill Organics has grown and developed their shop in line with customer demands.
The shop used to be the bottom part of the house for the first 10 years with a couple of trays of veg and maybe 5 to 10 customers a day, to now the shop you can see next to us has been open for 5 years now, and it's got a massive range. It's an award-winning farm shop that's been recognised all over Hampshire, and we have a good customer base of visitors daily, weekly, monthly.
Matt Bowman owns a flour mill in Haven Street, but started keeping hens in recent years in order to diversify and develop his business.
Started the egg business about 2 years ago now. Basically it was a sort of a natural progression on the farm. Basically realised that we needed livestock, a mixed system on the farm in order to utilise the natural fertilisers from having livestock on the farm. So not only are they fertilising the land to allow us to grow cereals for the milling business, but we're also getting the eggs from them as well.
Matt Legg from the island's branch of the NFU is optimistic about the island's food sector and the changing consumer attitudes.
It's very vibrant at the moment. There's a much more positive take and outlook on the future of farming and the food sector. I'm particularly pleased that the general public in particular show a much greater interest in where their food comes from and how it's produced, and I think the Isle of Wight has a lot to offer.
Sharon McNally is the chairperson of the Isle of Wight Farmers Market and explained why she thinks it's such a popular event.
It's nice to see regular faces, we get to see them every week and know their names and know what products they like. More people are looking for local produce. It's nice to support the local people on the island. People always like to buy local stuff and fresh stuff, and they know where it's from. And and as a producer, we can tell them where it's grown, how it's made, what exactly what's in it, which is quite nice. You'd like to know all these things when you're buying stuff.
It's a way of the local people meeting the people that produce the food. Any questions that the customers have about the food, they can ask them and answer them there and then.
The farmers' markets on the island are really important for the farming community, and for me specifically, it's really good to be able to engage with the customers and also for them to be able to engage with us. I think it's really important to have a connection between the producer and the consumer.
A lot of the flour produced at the Stoneground Flour Mill is sold off the island because of the large quantities produced, but it's a different story with the Little Duxmore eggs.
We only sell the eggs on the island, primarily into farm shops, delis, like I said, the schools. We've got a good contract going with Tesco's and the co-op as well. There's a lot more of us who have got involved with the co-op than any other supermarket.
Matt is also one of the few island producers who has a contract to supply Tesco with produce.
There have been some links forged with the supermarkets and island farmers, but I think, yes, there is certainly a lot more that can be done.
For God's Hill Organics, it's a constant struggle to compete with the supermarkets, but Lee is complimentary about the co-op.
The co-op definitely are stocking a much wider range of local products, and I don't see the co-op as much as a threat, other than we try to work along with the co-op, and them introducing local foods and local veg, and it does help us because customers then become aware of what it tastes to buy local produce, and then hopefully we'll realise that coming down to us, we stock everything that's local.
The move for consumers to buy higher quality, preferably local food, has prompted a desire to reduce food miles and increase traceability on where produce comes from.
It's great that retailers now realise that consumers, and this is the vital bit, consumers want to know where their food has come from. and that means the supermarkets have got to look after the farmers, and the farmers have an opportunity to get a fair price.
This is certainly true at Queen Bower Dairy, where Richard Hodgson produces Isle of Wight cheese.
The vat that you see here is approximately 25 metres from where the cows are milked to where I make the cheese. So in terms of food miles, it's about as short as it possibly could be. Before we came here, dairy farming was in a bit of a bad spell, and the dairy farmers weren't necessarily getting the right price for their milk from collecting tankers. One of the principles of why we set up the company was to give the farmer a better price for his milk.
Harold and Alan George run Coppet Hall Farm in Haven Street. They've diversified their business and now bottle and deliver milk across the island. They explained how and why they're constantly adapting their business.
Carbon footprints primarily. We're trying to cut food miles down. Every week we look at how we can do our rounds with less miles to save fuel and still give an efficient service.
In terms of raising awareness of local produce, island farmers are positive about the farmers' market and its ability to educate consumers.
The farmers' market, I think, we feel as if we've got our set customers, but the education, looking at it over the 10 years, the education process has been quite fascinating.
I think more could be done to promote Ireland products. I think the awareness is definitely rising, but I think in such of educating the children, I think more could be done in the schools. And obviously then you're educating the next generation of shoppers and the next generation of the island.
Last year we went to a primary school, Cowes Primary School, and held a farmers market there, and it was good to teach the youngsters, about the importance of the fresh food and getting it out there, and I think that's what we'll try and do for this year.
The Isle of Wight Economic Partnership has recently completed a survey of the island's food sector, and Chief Executive Graham Biss told us some of the findings of the report.
The initial findings which we've had back is that people want to network, they want to collaborate, they're looking for support around marketing initiatives. So it's very much bringing together to extend what the producers are doing excellently on their own businesses, but actually driving it forward so we actually get nearer to the customer.
One example of the island's food sector working together is the Isle of Wight Grain Store. The majority of island grain producers are members of this cooperative storage facility, and store manager Chris Sprackling told us some of the benefits of being a member.
By putting it together, we can sell 2,000-3,000 tonne lots by ship to further destinations where the prices are higher compared with having to put it in a lorry and take it across the ferry to a UK destination.
Matt Bowman believes more could be done to encourage island producers to work together. He's a member of Isle of Wight Grain and sees the facility as a good example of producers collaborating.
I would say it must be 99.9% of the farmers on the island are members of the grain group. So they do all work together as a cooperative, if you like, to get all their cereals into one place and then market them and get them off the island, or I'll use them. But no, I think more could be done for local producers to work together and perhaps help each other out a bit more.
One of the other main factors affecting the growth and development of the island food sector is the lack of an abattoir. Graham Biss and Matt Legg explain the situation.
We don't have a facility in place on the island that deals with all sorts of fallen stock. At the moment, burial is allowed on the island in certain places where you can meet environmental conditions, and there is also a limited service where some stock is taken off island. But with Graham's support through the Economic Partnership and through LEADER, avenues are being explored. We do have one group that are keen to put in a facility, and hopefully we'll have a solution that's there for the long term.
The island, because obviously we're our own individual microeconomy, does suffer from lack of key items of infrastructure. But with an abattoir or some of the other aspects, it's about viability. So we've got to ensure that these key items of infrastructure can sustain themselves. But clearly it is a barrier when we're looking to move along the food chain.
The Isle of Wight food sector has a lot to offer both residents and visitors, and if the agricultural and tourism industries can work together, then both can benefit from the valuable tourist audience, allowing them to continue to thrive and develop.